ITP 263, Task 3, Assignment Number 3, Elementary Veterans Day Speech.
How are you guys? Well, my name's Troy Morrow. I'm a retired Air Force Senior Master Sergeant. I had the pleasure to serve this country for 23 and a half years, in which about 5 years of my time in the military I served away from my family. That's a lot of anniversaries and birthdays and Christmases and snowstorms that I got to miss. And I really do appreciate my family and the sacrifices that they made for me. I am honored to speak to you guys today on Veterans Day. First, how many of you children have parents or grandparents that serve in the military or served in the military? That is awesome. I truly believe, I thank you so much, I truly believe that kids serve too, so thank you very, very much. When I think of Veterans Day, a few important things come to mind to me. What is freedom? What would life look like without it? What is the price of freedom? And who paid for it? What is freedom? Freedom is not getting to do whatever you want. It is the opportunity to do what you ought to do. With freedom comes responsibility to do the right thing, and it may not benefit you. Doing the correct thing may even make your life more difficult. Freedom always enables us to do what we love. Live where we want, believe what we want, and speak openly and gather in peaceful protest against injustices. Freedom gives us the ability to disagree with our president and our government officials openly without fear of the government coming and arresting us. Here are a few examples of freedom in action. Campaign signs in your yard, quitting a job that you don't like, driving, playing the sport you choose, retiring when you want, and unrestricted travel from state to state. What would life look like without it? In my 23 years, I've been to a lot of different countries, and many of them have very little that looks like freedom to me. Things like clean water, respect for human life, a free media. Without freedom, you are not able to do a lot of things that we take for granted in our country. Attending school, for instance. In some countries, if you are a girl of another race or religion, or you are special needs like deafness, or just too poor, you may not have the privilege of an education. In another country, you may not have the opportunity to choose the job that you like. The government would tell you where you were going to work or whom you could marry. How many of you know if your parents voted in last Tuesday's election? I'm sure you guys think that this is something that just happens every 2 years and it's really not a big deal, but you would be wrong. It is an amazing event when the people get the opportunity to exercise their freedom to enact change, social, financial, and leadership in our country. An election has never taken place in some countries, and the idea of a choice of leaders or enacting laws isn't even an option. By the people, for the people, in other countries, the will of the people is not even considered. I suppose almost all of you believe that all the newly elected representatives and senators that go to Olympia in Washington, D.C. to take on their new responsibilities, the members that were voted out of office will leave peacefully. That doesn't happen in other countries, a lot of other countries. There's never been a peaceful transfer of power. The transfer of power happens by force, the use of the military or the police, or the assassination of a leader or a dictator. The freedoms you enjoy today are because someone who didn't even know you was willing to sacrifice time away from their families, put themselves in harm's way, and all too often risk their lives in the hopes that their children and grandchildren and you might experience freedom's many blessings. What is the price of freedom? Freedom is precious and rare in this world, and it should never be taken for granted. It can be easily lost in the blink of an eye, as we experienced on the fateful day in 2001 on 9/11, when over 3,000 innocent people died, and again on 9/11 in 2012, where 4 American citizens were killed at one of our U.S. embassies in Libya. Or it could be chiseled away over time, slowly, almost without notice, by our government enacting laws that are not in line with the Constitution of the United States of America. So we must be vigilant in protecting it. Freedom is something that can only be earned, and the price tag is extremely high. The cost is human life. When you were little and you walked by a hot stove and the burner was on, and what did your parents tell you? Yeah, don't touch the stove, it's hot. Or do you remember what your parents said when you were learning to cross the street? Be careful, look both ways. Why did they say that? Because they love you, because your life is precious to them, and they know how priceless it is. So, when a person joins the armed forces and chooses to risk that very thing that is so priceless to do the exact opposite of what they were taught all their lives for the freedom of all, it must be a very important thing. Who paid the price for it? A veteran did. A veteran is a person who at one point in their life wrote a blank check to the United States of America in the amount of whatever it cost, even if it is my life. They committed to serve a cause that was greater than their own self-interest and willingly gave an oath that had them sacrifice several of their own personal freedoms to protect the Constitution, which is the document that protects the freedoms of those they serve. I don't believe anyone serves the country with the goal of giving their life for her, but are willing to risk their lives for the ideas that their country represents. So in closing, I will ask one question. What have you children done to deserve this gift of freedom? Nothing. That's right. Nothing. A veteran paid the price and then freely gave this gift of freedom to you as an American citizen. If you know someone in the military or someone who has served in the military, a parent, a grandparent, a neighbor, tell them thank you. Write them a letter or call them and let them know you appreciate them for their service to our country. If you happen to see someone wearing one of this country's armed forces uniforms, walk right up and shake their hand and then thank them for their service. Again, freedom is not getting to do whatever you want. Freedom is having the ability to do what you ought. I love this country, and I have been blessed to have the opportunity to serve her of my own free will. Thank you for inviting me. I hope I have given you some insight on why Veterans Day is so very important, and may God bless the United States of America.